When I heard Dame Dash that Jay wouldn't sign off on nothing, Jay wouldn't do this and Jay would that, because he couldn't let a Cameron blow up. He couldn't let an East Coast rapper like Beanie Siegel blow up.
Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Robert Kelly, Sean Combs have one person in common, professionally and privately: Sean Carter.
He ain't answering the phone? He ain't answering the motherfucking phone.
If you just finished watching 50 Cent's Diddy documentary on Netflix, there's one detail that immediately stands out. Jay-Z is nowhere to be found. Not a single appearance, no photos, no archival footage, no mention at all. That absence feels strange, especially given how closely documented his relationship with Diddy has been over the years. The more you think about it, the harder it is to ignore. According to multiple industry insiders, this wasn't accidental. A full segment from episode 4 was reportedly removed at the last minute. Internally, it was said to be labeled the Jay-Z tapes. Sources claim 50 Cent pushed hard to keep it in, but Netflix ultimately chose to cut the segment.
Everybody that is said, and Desiree Perez, all them people got dirt under them, bro. You understand? All them people got dirt on their fingernails. Jay-Z got dirt in his fingernails. You understand? Jay-Z was messing with young girls from our block. Tiring them. I'm putting it out there. You know what I'm saying? I'm picking a side. Desiree, husband, was a former dealer that she turned on a whole cartel. All of them got dirt on them. And 50 got they dirt. You understand? 50 gonna know they dirt. Because 50 got investigators, he got people that's in the street. So if they go at him, listen here, I deem him like myself, 10 times the normal man. He gonna do what he gotta do. And the whole thing about it is they trying to retaliate on him for something he did to somebody else. I feel that it's something worth seeing. It's something worth coming around, because all that shit about to fall. All that we seen in the industry, these demons want to have sex and turn little boys into little girls into little boys. That shit's about to go out the window, bro. And we need to start speaking up and talking about it. We need to stop all this crazy stuff. We need people to put people out here that's doing like this, that's taking from people's families, that's beating women, that's beating women. I ain't got a problem with it. Let's go to war.
What's circulating now is that the decision may have been influenced by growing legal sensitivity around the material. Insiders suggest federal authorities had begun showing interest in some of the content gathered during production, prompting Netflix to step back. While nothing has been confirmed publicly, the timing of the removal has fueled intense speculation about why that section was deemed too risky to air.
But they were so close that they had matching white girls together. Because when they used to see each other, they used to say, yo, how your skinny white girl doing? He'd be like, yo, how your skinny white girl doing? So I guess that's a certain type of closeness.
I ain't know anything about that, man. I ain't know about, Jay touching his, ass. I got to go see the video. I ain't hear about that.
Come on, man. Everybody's seen that. 50 even pointed it out. Excuse me. When they was in ATL on stage. Remember when 50 bum rushed the stage with them?
Yeah, I think I recall that.
When Puff came on stage, first thing he did was pat Jay-Z on that. But I forgot. That's your favorite rapper.
Hey, him and Pockets 1A, 1B. But what's your issue with Jay, man? I didn't know you had an issue with him.
I'm never a fan of somebody that I was gonna knock out. And then we was at the it was me, him, Ashley Kushner, Puff and them, we was all at the Nets game together, and he didn't even remember none of it. And I don't expect him to remember, but I remembered. You understand? And he told Puff, he said, yo, Puff, yo, I heard about that nigga Gene right there. That nigga Gene got a mean left. Oh, he said, that nigga Gene a knock a nigga out. Then he gonna come up to me and say, man, you look like, man, you a tear nigga ass up. And I said to himself, I said, yo, no Diddy. Pause. Whatever. I said, he don't even remember. I was about to knock him the F out. He didn't even remember. He said to me, to Laura. But that's how these guys are, man. They'll cause situations and cause problems, and then they'll forget what they done because they on a whole nother atmosphere.
What makes this impossible to overlook is how everyone else was handled. Other powerful figures were discussed openly. Legal cases, accusations, and controversies were examined in detail. Jay-Z wasn't minimized. He was completely erased. When one of the most influential names connected to the story is absent entirely, it doesn't feel random. It feels deliberate. To understand why that absence matters, you have to understand his long-standing connection to Diddy. Despite later statements downplaying their closeness, several former insiders say the two were deeply connected for years.
Lawsuit coming with Jay, the part with Jay. I go, oh shoot, like
to us, black excellence,
that had to be there.
We getting tighter, you know what I'm saying? And united we stand, and ain't nothing else.
Black excellence, they're sitting there like, yeah. It's the billionaire brunch.
Oh,
Like,
I hate you, man.
unaware of anything going on here. This is the one time I'm going to be with you this year.
Jay-Z is setting Diddy up. He ain't doing shit different. He lined up D. Haven, stole his life and identity. He lined up Big L, stole his life and identity. He lined up Dame Dash, stole his life, identity, and took his love. Lined up R. Kelly. He wants to be the one.
And this wasn't just business. According to people who were close to the inner circle, the relationship extended beyond music into personal and strategic territory. When Diddy began facing serious legal pressure, Jay-Z's team moved quickly to publicly create distance. Almost immediately, former associates pushed back, saying that narrative didn't reflect reality. They argue that what happened behind closed doors looked very different from what was presented to the public.
Camaraderie between the Jigga Man and the Diddler. Okay? These are two people that have been working in concert, collaborating and competing. These are people that have been covering each other's secrets for decades. That's why I say to sit there and to just make Diddy the acceptable monster and not address his greatest collaborator in all of his business dealings it's a miscarriage of justice. Because what you're doing is you're leaving the other half of this two-headed monster out on the street to still be able to do what they do. While this one looks like he's down. This is a man who pow-powed his own brother and somehow walked away from that instance, got involved in the street drug trade, and somehow everyone else went to jail except for him. He's been making deals with the government and with the feds for quite some time. If none of this is real, how does the CEO of his record conglomerate Rock Nation, how is she a known federal informant whose background is transferring on multiple levels? Desiree Perez is one of the most despicable human beings to ever walk the face of this earth. And I'm not saying allegedly. I know that about you, man. I know about all your business dealings in Laredo. I know about all your business dealings in Guadalajara. And I know about who you know in Sinaloa. Why is a woman who's had this much engagement with the Mexican cartels running a rap conglomerate? That makes no sense. And she is a chartered government informant. What it sounds like to me is that the government found a very, very, very successful way to control and manipulate hip hop by allowing their top agents to run everything and keep the independent jail system going, because a lot of these rappers are also heavily invested in the jails that most of these rappers go to. It's a bigger business.
You have to show damages to really win defamation as well.
Absolutely.
Is that just
but
part of
they're
the legal
not going
plan?
to do that against me. Because if they do that, then they have to explain how I know what I know. See, the truth is I've had them at check for 2 years. Checkmate is coming. I promise you.
That distinction matters because when investigations widen, they don't focus on individuals alone. They examine networks, who was present, who knew what, and who chose silence. That's often when distance starts to appear. Critics believe Jay-Z's separation may be less about past closeness and more about limiting potential fallout as scrutiny around Diddy continues to grow.
Why there's no vindication for me? Because for 4 years, I've been screaming, not just Diddy, but Diddy and Jay-Z are monsters. And the victim-making machine kept going on.
Jay-Z has been notable by his silence since these charges were brought against Diddy. Why do you think that is?
Because that's what he does. He starts little fires everywhere, forces everyone involved to go and carry water while he sneaks away without a response. That changes now, Sean. You must respond. You have no choice. Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Robert Kelly, Sean Combs have one person in common, professionally and privately. Sean Carter. This has been a fist of tyranny that has been punching through our culture and our society for decades. It must stop.
Another major part of the cut material focused on how young artists were handled inside the industry.
When do we find a parental supervision in a private plane by a man who was supposed to be a producer who auditioned her at 3 a.m. in a hotel room? Auditioning at 3 a.m. in the morning, a 14-year-old girl.
With no parental consent.
With no parental, nobody. She was flown to another country. She was taken to Def Jam headquarters. She was left in a conference room alone with Sean Carter for nearly 6 hours alone with no parental supervision. Her father was flown up separately. She was 14 and a half, going on 15. She's about 16 when Pon the Replay came out, wasn't she? Her father collected a $500,000 check. She has the fastest inked deal in Def Jam history.
How did they get Rihanna from Barbados to New York City? Quickly. They got her there quick.
Like that. On a private plane.
Yeah.
Just told you, just said that.
If people knew how many of these girls are transported around on private planes, how they're able to redact, change names on manifests, she wouldn't have needed parental consent or a passport if she got on a private plane on the manifest listed as someone else. They only worry about the body count. They're not checking IDs at the tarmac. They're trusting whoever's bringing them on is doing everything above board. So many girls were transported, models just like that.
Sources familiar with the removed segment claim it was meant to explore long-circulating allegations tied to Jay-Z's private life, sealed settlements, and strict confidentiality agreements. These stories have existed for years, but they've rarely been examined in depth on a major streaming platform. The documentary may have been the first attempt to bring those conversations into a mainstream space.
Was you and R. Kelly ever cool at any point?
Why? He's an R&B. I'm not an R&B. No disrespect to R&B because I'm cool with Tyrese. But we have these things. Like sometimes I'll be like, that's that R&B shit you doing. You know what I mean? I'm not R&B nigga like that. I wasn't hanging out with no R&B nigga. I just couldn't. I think the fact that Jay was fucking with him is what used to blow my mind more than anything. Like I feel like I don't know why he wants to with this guy so much. Like why? I just never understood it. So I think it was just more me feeling awkward about the fact that I had to be around him on some level, but I wasn't around him. Like I never was around him. Like even when they, and it's, you know, that not guilty, I wasn't like I came for the video. I was out. I wasn't a guy, and I think like we took pride, at least I did, and my crew, in not hanging out with famous people or famous men. Like if you was gonna be famous, it had to be a female. But I wasn't trying to be up under no other famous dudes. I didn't think that was like, I'm not gonna hang out with you just because you're famous. And I don't like dudes that much. So I was like, why would I have no reason. Like what am I gonna do? Go to the studio and hang out with it? Like I don't do that.
Right. Did Jay know about what he did to Aaliyah?
Did he know that everybody knew R. Kelly married Aaliyah at 15? Everybody knew that. So was the conversation had like, yo, how you gonna go and do something with this dude? Hell yeah, that conversation was had.
What's changed now is not the existence of rumors, but the level of scrutiny. Investigators today are said to be looking beyond individuals and toward how power, money, and silence operate together. This is where comparisons to R. Kelly inevitably surface. Long before legal action became public, many in the industry quietly distanced themselves from him. Dame Dash, Jay-Z's former business partner, has said openly that he wanted no association with R. Kelly. Yet Jay-Z continued collaborating, even releasing full albums together.
Like, yo, how you gonna do a project with a nigga with my motherfucking girl? We had the conversation. Why would you still with a nigga that with someone that raped your girl? Would you still do anything with that person? So why would anyone expect me to? Like that's what I don't understand. I'd be like, yo, people be like, why? Well, just that alone. There's a lot of other shit. But that alone was like the nail in the coffin for me. I was out of there. I was gone. Trust me. After that, I don't want to be nowhere near. I knew that shit was gonna blow up. I didn't want no parts of that shit. Like I was like, I don't want no parts. That's not good money. So I was done with him for that.
How did Jay respond when you confronted him about it?
You know how he is. It's like, yo, I ain't nothing to do with that.
Damn.
What I would love is for someone to ask him, like, yo, why would you still do a project with that man knowing that he raped Aaliyah? That should be the question. Period. It shouldn't be for me. It should be the question posed to him. You know, I don't give a fuck about nothing else. But that right there was bridge burnt. But I just was like respecting her, respecting the business. But I was I moved out of rock. Like if y'all look at, like I left Rockefeller. It wasn't that I got kicked out of Rockefeller. I left Rockefeller. You understand what I'm saying? The option was there for me to stay. I did not want no parts of it. I was done. I left Rockware. Think about it, bro. I said, f all the money, all it. I'm out. Now think about a lot of men would not have made that choice, but any real man would have to make that choice. I was left no choice. He gave me an offer I could not refuse. And we done. You know what I'm saying? You gonna with this man, you knew he raped my girl, you was in love with her. How could you do that? It's obviously you want me to feel away. Like it wasn't enough money for us to do that. So I was done.
Questions followed. Why did Jay-Z maintain that proximity when others pulled away? Was it strictly business, or were they operating within the same protected circles? Those questions remain unanswered, but they continue to resurface as more industry relationships are re-examined through a modern lens. Clip 9.
It's time for Aaliyah Dana Houghton's death to be properly.
This is where Jaguar Wright enters the conversation. For years, she has claimed that once she learned what was happening behind the scenes, she could no longer stay silent. She alleges that speaking out came with consequences, pressure, fear, and strict agreements designed to keep people quiet. Whether accepted or disputed, her perspective reflects a recurring theme: silence as survival.
Aaliyah was sitting in a taxi as her team and the flight crew argued nearby about whether or not to take off, and she complained of having a headache. Now, reportedly, a baggage handler nearby said that someone from her entourage gave her a pill. She took the pill, and that right after, she fell into a very deep sleep. So deep, in fact, that she was carried onto the airplane still asleep and may not have even been aware that she was on the airplane. Now, we should say we don't know what that pill was. It could have been aspirin. Maybe she was just very tired from a long video shoot, and the baggage handler did say that she took it willingly, but it does reveal some new information about those final moments.
After the crash, investigators determined the small plane was carrying about 700 pounds over its limit, and this is important, the center of gravity was too far back in the aircraft.
The pilot did not want to make this trip, and he reportedly argued with Aaliyah's team because he thought that it was unsafe. So he did make those calculations, and he did decide that it was unsafe. However, after protracted negotiation, they went through with that flight. Now, we did also learn some new things about this pilot. According to autopsy results, he had both alcohol and cocaine in his system.
The pilot
did.
Whoa.
He was not the authorized pilot for that plane, and he had just joined that company a few days prior to that flight. So he was very new with that company.
So Jaguar Wright alleges that the deaths of Aaliyah and other popular artists in the music industry is a bigger scheme and something else is behind it. So I'm going to go ahead and roll you guys this clip of everything that Jaguar Wright had to say, and you guys let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.
But Aaliyah, why haven't we demanded more answers? After all this time, everyone is quick to agree that something is rotten in Denmark.
Yes.
With that. And everyone says it, even in the news reports, and yet no one has said it's time to talk to Hype Williams about why he didn't want Aaliyah to get on Lenny Kravitz's very, very, very wonderful and safe plane to get on a janky one that he forced her on, which, by the way, she didn't get on willingly. She was and carried on.
The official record states that Aaliyah died in a tragic plane crash in 2001. Over time, speculation has followed, ranging from acknowledgement of a devastating accident to unresolved questions. Jaguar Wright has publicly stated she does not believe it was coincidence, arguing instead that too many factors were ignored. These claims remain controversial and unproven, but they persist because of the silence surrounding them.
Taken unfairly. She actually died screaming. And the Carters are responsible. But one of them is just a little more responsible than the other. Question is, did Sean Carter delete his mistress, his pregnant mistress, because his wife was jealous? Or could it be possible that maybe his wife's temper is just a little worse than most people think? And maybe he just had to clean it up to protect the brand's sake.
What is clear is that before her death, Aaliyah was becoming more independent personally and professionally. She was making her own decisions, asserting control, and distancing herself from certain figures within the industry. That timing continues to fuel discussion about power and autonomy.
And sign with labels back then. And they was getting a lot of money to make albums and records. When they had guys down south that these labels was paying $250,000, $300,000 on record deals, and these guys was bringing back platinum albums and everything like that. So what they had to do was they had to keep New York rappers down. That's one reason, other than the Irv Gotti shit that 50 was going through and the poison they was putting in about 50, he had to go elsewhere to California, or with Jay and not with Dre and Eminem to get a deal. They did not want East Coast rappers to get big. They were suppressing all new artists that was coming out of New York. Jay and Diddy was doing that. That's why when I heard your story, because I knew this for a long time, but when I heard Dame Dash that Jay wouldn't sign off on nothing, Jay wouldn't do this and Jay would that, because he couldn't let a Cameron blow up. He couldn't let an East Coast rapper like Beanie Siegel blow up. Because him and Diddy was giving that deal, we got to keep these East Coast rappers down. Then, along came a somebody. They was about to bring East Coast rap back. And there's nothing they could do about it. And this kid was finna put East Coast on the map, just like Big did. And this is after 50. And that was Papa Smoke. Pop Smoke. That was Pop Smoke. Let me just tell you something, man. 2 weeks before Pop Smoke died, K Slay, who heard this from the industry, that knows that happens in the industry, set Pop Smoke and his people down and gave them a jewel. He said, y'all gonna have to protect him with his life, with y'all life. Y'all gonna have to protect him with y'all life. Because he know Pop Smoke was about to bring rap back to the East Coast. And what happened? Pop Smoke ended up dead. Now, I ain't trying to say that's some kind of conspiracy, and maybe some other shit was going on, or this, that, and the third. But brother, he had that conversation with K Slade 2 weeks before he was murdered. They didn't want rap to be back.
Some observers argue that if Diddy possesses information tied to people close to Jay-Z, it would explain why separation is complicated. When one powerful figure holds damaging material, leverage replaces loyalty. Others, like Gene Deal, suggest that Diddy and Jay-Z once operated with aligned goals, claiming they moved strategically during key shifts in hip-hop's power structure. These claims remain disputed, but they underscore how deeply interconnected these circles may be.